guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over part 3 of the story that I started a couple days ago, which was titled The Good Husband and Father Went Scorched Earth on His Deceitful Wife and Ungrateful Daughter After Finding Out About Their Betrayal. And this will be the final episode, ending the trilogy. And a big thank you to you guys for following this. This was quite the video I did a couple days ago, which started this, was 37 minutes, the longest one I've ever done, but you guys really enjoyed it, and so I really appreciate your support. But anyhow, guys, I don't want to go too long here, but we're going to do a quick recap of what happened real quick. Long story short, the first story, because some of you guys may not have seen this. First story, this guy, he had a tough childhood. He was in a gang, but he met this girl when he was 18 that made him want to change, and he got in a lot of trouble, but he eventually got out of a gang. He got his GED. He went to started working, got a job as a mechanic, and so on and so forth. Got back into his old ways and got busted and went to jail for a month. And in that time period, his girl, who he was trying to change for, got pregnant, but he got out of jail, and he totally turned around his life. He got a great job, got a job as a mechanic, started making money, saving money, moved them out to the suburbs, swore he would not let his daughter grew up in an environment like him, and for 15 years he was a great father to her, a great husband. She wanted for nothing, went to private school, horseback lessons, the whole 9 yards. This guy, great example of masculine energy turning his life around. Awesome. But then around 13 years old, she started showing him a lot of disrespect, totally changing, being a little shithead, to be honest here. And at 15 years old, when she was going to have the big party, the big quinceañera for Latina girls at 15, he, in a nutshell, found out that, guess what? This wasn't his child. His wife of 15 years, who he thought was love of his life, had been lying for 15 years. And in fact, she was the daughter of his cousin, who the cousin hooked up with his girl while he was in jail for a month, who the cousin is now a priest. I mean, this story is like something out of a soap opera. And the girl found out about this for a couple of years and has been secretly having let me rephrase it, not secretly. She's made it clear she doesn't like him, not hugging him, being rude, disrespectful, all that. And he found these messages on her tablet saying pretty much that I can't wait to get away from this guy. When I'm 18, I have to be around him. Heartbreaking stuff to this guy who loved his daughter. So he started making plans. He met with a lawyer and got everything ready to sell the business, the house, everything, canceled her private school, he was getting out of there, send those two back to the hood, and that's it. And it all came up to the surface. You all know what happened. And he punched out his cousin, and he kicked him out, and basically went to court, got a great lawyer, and he made out like a bandit. And then he left for Idaho, and that was that. Then he eventually met another girl, and at church, I might add, and then they got serious, had a kid, and then he was coming back to New York City to see his grandma, meet his child, and then his past came back to haunt him, and the next thing you know, the daughter's reaching out to him, and he beat up his cousin a third time, I might add. And the second story was with the daughter trying to reach out to him. She's now 18 years old, got pregnant, I might add. Talk about a acorn falling from the tree and a stereotype. But was with a guy that's willing to marry her and be good to her and all that, and she's trying to reach out to the dad, the guy here. I mean, he's not her real dad technically, but he raised her and thought she was his daughter for 15 years. And she then tries to explain everything that happened, how sorry she is, and so on and so forth, and everything that went down behind the scenes and all that. And now the guy, after years of anger management and therapy and trying to move past all this, he's now starting to reconsider letting her back into his life. And that's the issue that could be bringing him a whole lot of drama. The guy was starting over again, and this guy is an example of masculine energy. You guys lived together the first time. He was a good guy, took care of things, really got past his tough beginnings, and now he got past all his shit, started over again. Again, a man doesn't let himself fall into nothing. He started over, and now the question is, does he bring the daughter back into his life or not? And pretty much it ended with him communicating with her by text and email and phone call, and she's so sorry, wants to meet him and everything like that, and he's starting to think twice about the whole situation, and what else? It's a lot of things going on, guys, and pretty much also found out obviously what happened behind the scenes. The mother pretty much didn't have anything to do with it for a couple of years once the guy left. The father, who's the cousin, didn't want anything to do with her, no child support, nothing, big freaking mess. So it ends with him, he's about to get married a second time. I don't know if I agree with that. And The daughter's going out there to see him, so we're going to continue on from there. My little recap, which was supposed to be about 2 minutes, went on to 5 minutes, so thank you for bearing with me. Anyhow, it starts off, he says, a lot has happened in such a short window. Again, I would like to thank the large number of support within the DMs. Of course, there were hate messages, but all I can say to those people is what you would have done and what I did are two different mindsets. And until you go through the same situation or something similar, don't tell me how I should have felt. Exactly. Leading up to the wedding, I was already on eggshells. Jocelyn, this is the woman he's going to marry, was the happiest I've ever seen, and my in-laws were freaking out due to the number of people that were coming. He said, I swear, I think the whole town came. While all this was happening, I was an hour and a half away in Boise waiting for Luna and her family at the airport. In the days leading up to the visit, we spoke a lot. Her mostly crying and apologizing and me just listening. When she didn't speak anymore, I was talking to her fiance, who was more down to earth. Well, thank God for that. But this guy who's marrying her, he's going in the Marines, and he's marrying her simply because she's pregnant, and who knows what his feelings are for her. And you can say, okay, the guy's trying to do the old-fashioned honorable thing here, but they're kids. What the hell do they know, right? How many stories have I done where people rush off to get married and it doesn't end too well? And he's going off to the military. And how many stories have I done where the guy in the military goes off and guess what? The wife, the second he's gone, she's off to the singles bar. You know those stories. But okay. So they're going out there and he's going to see his daughter for the first time since he left her ass at the quinceañera and took off and sent her ass back to the hood. But even though she's not his daughter biologically, which he knows because obviously there was proof of that, the guy, he's torn because he did love her once. Still does, quite frankly. And even though she's not his child, he raised her 15 years believing she was his child. So you're going to see how this goes. When their plane landed, I was so scared. Not for seeing her again, but I was afraid due to my anger. I was afraid that I would lose my temper. The second she saw me in the terminal, she ran to me, crying, and for a split second, I saw my daughter when she was 7. It was weird picturing a child in my mind. She ran screaming, "Daddy," and the second she hugged me, she began to cry loudly. It was like a wail that caused so many people to look at us. She just kept saying sorry over and over, asking me to forgive her, and I just held her for over 15 minutes. This is one emotional girl. And if this is an act, which some of you guys think maybe because she has a baby and needs to milk this guy more, this is an Oscar-worthy performance here. Or she's grown up, realized what she lost, and is genuinely sorry and misses him and wants him. Who knows? We'll continue on and see. She kept saying sorry over and over again, on and on. She refused to let me go. It took her fiance and I to convince her to do so. It was as if she felt the second she let go, I was going to vanish. After she composed herself, her fiance properly introduced himself, and then they introduced me to their child. I won't lie, I cried. I wasn't angry, but I cried holding this infant. Luna was also the spitting image of her mother when she was 19 years old, which made me wonder about Marisol. During the drive home, we talked about her fiance's boot camp, how he's going to be a career man, how Luna was going to go to college online to learn accounting, mostly catching up on conversation. When we arrived at my house, Jocelyn and her family had a spread ready to go. Since we've been together, Jocelyn learned how to cook Spanish foods, but this week leading up to Luna's visit, she went a little overboard. Yet, I get it. She wanted to make an impression. Her and Luna just hit it off. Every few minutes, Luna would walk towards me just to give me a quick hug and go back to Jocelyn. I was just holding my son and my grandson. Well, whether this is accurate or not, whether this is either a performance or this is her genuine, true feelings, Luna is definitely emotional. And Luna definitely has daddy issues, as you're going to come see more as I go through the story here. This dude that's marrying her baby daddy, he's got a lot to handle. And this guy is going to have a lot. If he's obviously letting her back into his life, but this is like a trial basis. His daughter obviously knows. Do not cross this guy. As you guys know from the other stories, if you've listened to him, this guy is definitely a bad mother effer. Like I said, he was a gang member, and a gang that is a very well-known Latin gang, and not to be crossed, not to be messed with. Hopefully, she learned her lesson. I would hope and think that she's young, not to mess with this guy after what happened the first time. And that hopefully this is genuine. He certainly deserves this after all the shit he's gone through. While Jocelyn was introducing Luna to her family, I put the babies to bed and I went to the porch for some fresh air. Luna's fiance was standing by foot of the yard, staring at all the bison roaming around. For a moment, I wanted to give him the dad talk, but I felt it wasn't any of my place. Instead, I asked him how he liked the view, and he was awestruck. I know the feeling. Living in the city the majority of your life, wide open spaces, and a marvel to take in. After a minute or two, he looked at me and told me how regretful Luna was. He says, I've been with your daughter for 3 years, and not a day goes by when she mentioned how much she misses you and regrets what she did. Out of everything he told me, that single sentence constantly replays in my mind. Her fiance's name is Roberto. For a man who's only 19 years old, he acts like a man in his 30s. That tells me he had a rough life to mature so quickly. I know the feeling. So far, it sounds like this dude who's with her, he definitely, he's doing his best. And he has his shit together, and he's trying, and he's a stand-up guy. Now, I'm hoping this stand-up guy doesn't get burned. I really hope that. This guy, in a way, kind of sounds like the dude who's telling this story here. And they talk about them being out in the middle of nowhere. They went from New York City, mind you, out to Idaho. You want to talk about like going to a different planet. 2 years ago, quick story here. 2 years ago, I was traveling to South Dakota, Wyoming, and Montana. One big, long, 2-week trek. And let me tell you guys, if you've never been out there, it is amazing, the country. Now, there's some parts when you're just driving forever and seeing the damn prairie. But like in Wyoming, the Grand Tetons, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, holy shit. Unbelievably beautiful. I hadn't seen the bison run around there. Grand Teton National Park. I went to Montana. They call it Big Sky Country for a reason. It is spectacular driving. Just driving in your car, listening to some good music, checking out the sights. Unbelievable. I went to Glacier National Park along the border of Canada in June, and it snowed. I was having breakfast one morning and it snowed. Being out there, I mean, it was just unbelievable. I'm a little nostalgic here. This is bringing back good memories to my head. But if you ever been out to that country, if you haven't been out to that part of the country, guys, you got to check it out at least once. It's spectacular. Totally different world. Anyhow, the following day, I had to go to the shop, and Luna practically jumped into the car with the baby. Even Roberto told her it was okay to enjoy herself. Luna looked like she was going to hyperventilate, and I told her that we'll work half a day, and I'll spend the rest of the day with her. That seemed to do it, and I slowly began to realize how traumatized Luna was. Daddy issues. Now she's 18, 19 years old, and all this went down when the big main event of the quinceañera, the big reveal, when she was 15 years old. And like I said before, she did a lot of rude, disrespectful shit, and she had a lot of that stuff coming to her, sending her ass back to the hood, going from private school to public school, having to grow up. No more horseback lessons, all the stuff this guy provided. Believe me, she had it coming. But still, she was still young and teeny tiny small pass. But even then, so she learned. But she's getting a second chance here, obviously. And I'm going to assume that she's not going to be smart enough to realize not to screw it up, to do not cross this guy. But regardless, she's got daddy issues. But that was on her and her mother. He says, during the drive, I asked Roberto, how bad was she? He says she has severe abandonment issues, constantly afraid that he's going to leave her. This is her guy, so she's got daddy issues. You know how those go. And despite him telling her that he will never leave, she calls him a lot, a bit clingy at times, and in the beginning, afraid to be by herself in fear they will break up. He had to reaffirm his love for her just so he could get her to let her guard down. This was my doing. I know that. But he doesn't blame me. He told me he completely understood why I did what I did. This guy had every right to do what he did. This guy had every right to, with the exception of the reveal to quinceañera, in my opinion, everything else, no. They've been lying. The girl made abundantly clear in that tablet with all her messages between her mother and the other dude, the cousin who was her biological father, that she didn't want this guy. Treat him like complete shit for years, okay? And at that point, I don't care if she was 15. So he had every right to pick up and leave and go on the other side of the country. He'd say, see ya. You want to be with your biological dad? There he is. A real stand-up guy who he beat up 3 times and had it coming. But he had every right, okay? And she wasn't his child, and she didn't care. So this guy should not take blame for her daddy issues, okay? Believe me, he was an amazing dad to her. She's lucky she's getting a second chance here. Anyhow, it goes on, he says, allow me to say that Roberto is a terrible mechanic. He knows nothing about cars, so I had him clean up at the shop so he could work off the plane tickets. We closed early, and when we arrived, Luna practically ran towards me. She looked unhinged. I told her that I'll be back, and she went to her fiancé. When I walked in the house, Jocelyn told me that Luna needs to be reminded that everything is going to be fine, that I won't leave her again. I don't know what to say, but Jocelyn grabbed my hands and told me that Luna is hurting and she needs her father. And obviously this guy, he's decided to give her a second chance and be the dad, and he's potentially inviting a lot of drama into his life because this girl's got serious daddy issues. But this guy, like I said before in the first video, guys, he's a bad motherfucker. I'm just going to spell it out there. We all know this. But he's also a good man, okay? And he realized that he can't go around with all this anger and hate and disdain in his heart. So he's obviously learned to forgive, but he ain't going to forget. So it sounds like he's giving her a second chance because in his mind, this was his little girl, his daughter, even though the shit she did, the attitude, all that, and she is certainly coming off like she's sincerely sorry and wants another chance. So some people may say, see ya, no way, no way, Jose. Other people will give her a chance. He continues, for the next couple of days, I spent all my time with Luna, getting reacquainted with her. I took her to my in-laws' ranch and showed her the bison, the elk, and took her on a hike. 2 days before the wedding, I apologized to her for leaving. I apologized for the way I acted, apologized for the action I took. I can't say I would. Maybe the whole revelation at the quinceañera thing on that slideshow, but aside from everything else, they had it coming. Some people may think I'm a heartless bastard for that, but no. But he did raise her, and he sees she's very sorry, and he still loves her, so, she's getting a second chance. Believe me, she's getting far more than a lot of people would do. She didn't want to hear any of it. She told me that there's nothing that I should apologize for, and said that she knows the reason why it all fell apart, and that she knows it was her fault, and that I had to stop her. Well, if that's bullshit, then she's full of shit. But if she's being sincere, then I respect that she's taking ownership of her actions when she was young, even though she was young. And yeah, he has nothing to apologize for. I began to cry. I told her that it wasn't her fault. I was angry, I was hurting, and despite what happened, I should be the one who should apologize. We both cried and just held each other. You shouldn't be the one to apologize. Luna appeared to be slightly better. On the day of my wedding, she was happy. In the last minute, Jocelyn made her into a bridesmaid and Roberto a groomsman. The wedding was beautiful. During the reception, I asked the DJ to play the song from Luna's quinceañera, and I asked her to dance with me. She was crying the entire time, holding on to me for dear life when we danced. Holy crap, this girl's got daddy issues. This girl is going to need some serious therapy. And that guy of hers that she's getting involved with, I really hope that she's going to be a good wife to this guy and good mother to her kid, not let all this other bullshit get in the way. I'm being hopeful here for all of them, because this guy that she's with, he's going to have a handful. Although, since she has such daddy issues and fear of abandonment, believe me, I think she may even learn not to cross the line, and the guy can need to lay down the law if she gets, as all women can be a pain in the ass sometimes, to lay down the law at the right moment, and she'll know, oh shit, I don't want to cross this guy because he'll leave like my daddy. Sounds cruel and harsh, but it is what it is. I haven't felt this happy in a long time. I let Luna and her fiancé stay in my house, taking care of her little brother while I went to Hawaii for my honeymoon. When we got home, she was happy. She hugged us, and it felt great. Roberta told me that he's going to Camp Dwyer in Afghanistan and would like to know if Luna can stay near us. This, by the way, obviously is an older story. We all know what's going on right now overseas in Afghanistan, so I sure as hell hope this dude got out of there. Talk about a fucking mess right now. Anyhow, I would like to know if Luna could stay with us. He would pay for the apartment near us until he could buy a house. Of course, I said yes. They went back to the city the day before yesterday. So they're moving to Idaho. Like I said, it's been eventful. Luna's wedding is in November, and Roberto is leaving in December. Roberto sent me what constitute as a year's rent for the townhouse community 3 miles away from our house. However, Jocelyn suggested we just put a double wide on our property for Luna and let her save money to buy a house when Roberto comes back. Marisol has been blowing up my phone, and based on the messages she left, she's not happy that Luna is moving. Right now my focus is my family and to mend my relationship with my daughter. The end. So there you go, guys. Many of you guys probably didn't expect that ending, but this guy who's a bad motherfucker made that abundantly clear in the beginning, turned his life around in the beginning, went through hell after what happened, started over, all this. He is trying to be a forgiving guy and giving her a second chance. A lot of people wouldn't. But he's doing it because he loves this girl and is giving her a shot. Now, my guess is that I'm gonna really hope, for this guy's sake and the universe and the world, that this girl doesn't pull any shit. I really hope she is sincerely sorry and learned the hard way and is going to be a great daughter to him and loyal and loving, as well to her Marine husband, and be a good mother to their child. I really hope that. Will it happen? We don't know. Because how many horror stories have I gone over in this channel that's made pretty much all of us know to always look out for the red flags, expect the unexpected, and you just never know. I really hope for this guy, because this is a good guy. But this story isn't just about revenge. It's also about a guy who pulled himself out from nothing in a shitty environment, and got his life together, and multiple times during hardships kept pressing forward. Okay, this is a guy to look up to, a masculine guy. That's what I want you guys to be. For you guys, especially that are young, they didn't have good male role models and guys to help you in the right direction. That's what I want. That's what men should be. And also, as I said before, going around being angry, carrying around hatred in your heart, it's poison. It's going to ruin you. And that guy obviously eventually learned to let it go, and he's giving this girl a second chance. I wish him the best. So anyhow, guys, that is the end of the saga. I wish this dude the best. Thank you for all watching all 3 parts here. I know a lot of you guys really enjoyed it. Tomorrow, I'm filming this on Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday, and New England, Massachusetts is going to get hit with that hurricane coming up the East Coast. So I'm doing this in advance, but you'll see this obviously Sunday, which will be, today. And I may not have anything available for Monday because I won't be able to record tomorrow Monday because of the storms and the hurricane and all that. Fingers crossed, this just turns out to be not too big a deal, not too much flooding or property damage. But to my New England brothers, stay safe out there. Hopefully you don't have too much damage to your properties, you don't lose power and all that. So, but worst case scenario, I'll be back on Tuesday with a video. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below, let me know what you think about this, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.